So, how's everybody doing? I haven't done one of these in a while. So, I'm going to show you how I do a deep clean and rebuild of a carburetor or one of these chainsaw carburetors. This particular one is a Tillotson. It's an HS26A. We'll get all this cleaned up. We'll get it looking like new, get it rebuilt, and get it installed. Alrighty, so let me show you how I do one of these carburetors. Alrighty, so there's a few things we need here. Various screwdrivers, different sizes, and a container to hold our bits or hold our pieces. It's a simple, just a clean Tupperware container. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and just disassemble this real quick. This up here. So we got to work at getting it separated, and there's a nice little spot right here that I can just pry on to get it apart. So there we go. Now this one I'm just going to work at peeling it off here. Sometimes they come right off, sometimes they don't. Now this is trash. Alright, now I'm going to work at pulling this side here off. This is the diaphragm side. Or the metering lever side, I should say. Looks like it has been apart. So maybe it's just received partial rebuilds over the years. This would have been common on like the 1960s, late 1960s saws. Again, she's stuck together. And there she goes. Now we got to pull the diaphragm off. You see how it's all crispy, hard. But this is going to be trash. Now we want to remove both of our jets. There's a high and a low. This one I'm removing right now is the low. You see the little step to the jet? The little point. The point has a little step to it. Now this is the high speed side. So there's no step to it. The high-speed jet controls the saw at higher RPM, and the low-speed side controls the saw at low RPM. Simple as that. Then you can see on the carburetor here, it is marked L and H. L right here, H right here. Now, there's a screen inside of here that I want to remove. And I usually have a little dental pick looking thing, but I believe one of my boys wandered off with it. So I'm just going to try to use my my old Barlow and get it out of there. There it is. Not hard to remove. You see it? We are not going to keep that piece. We will replace it. Now on the other side, we need to remove all this. I'm going to pull this screw out. There's a little spring there. Our screw. This is our needle. This is our metering lever right here. Okay. Now, these are called Welch plugs. I don't usually remove them unless for some reason something tells me I need to. But if you look at the position of them, you see how the one lines up with the high-speed circuit, the other lines up with the low-speed circuit? It's not a bad idea to remove them for cleaning. It's not. I will do it just to show you. And they have nice little pointy looking tools for doing this sort of thing, but I'm just going to try to do it with this little tiny screwdriver. And I'm going to try to punch it through. And there it is. Simple as that. Now we got this other one. See, it's right out. Not very hard to remove. Now if you look down in here, so down in here is something called a check valve. I don't usually remove and change those unless there's an issue that the rebuild does not solve. All right. But I don't usually remove them just because it is rare that they go bad. But this is as far as I usually disassemble the carburetor for cleaning purposes. This is it. And you can see there's all our bits and pieces. There's not much to it. So what we want to do now is we want to start throwing all this inside of our Tupperware bowl. And I want to point something out. If you can see it, there is a tiny bit of glazing of fuel. You know how it'll glaze over on the end of this jet. We'll end up removing that. Now I'm actually surprised because usually these carburetors are much worse than this. This one actually is pretty clean. So I'm actually quite surprised. But now we want to work at getting it cleaned. And we got this gasket that we got to deal with first. We want to get that off of there. So it's actually not very hard. Let me show you. So as you can see, I have the carburetor in the vise here just to help hold it for me. All right. So now I'm just going to use my knife and kind of scrape at the gasket a little bit. Just to remove what I can. Don't need to start gouging away at it or anything. Just carefully remove what I can. You can see it's not a real difficult process. Just want to be careful not to gouge out the aluminum. So, there it is, just with my knife. Now, I'm going to take a piece of Scotch-Brite and finish cleaning it off. So there it is, all nice and cleaned up. Now for the next part. If you need to, you can Scotch-Brite these surfaces a little bit. As you see, they clean up pretty good. I've had gaskets stick to these surfaces before, and so it doesn't really hurt them, just to give them a rub. Now, so there's our Tupperware bowl with all our parts, carburetor parts. All right, time for the next step. All right, so for the next step, I'm just going to use some cleaner. I actually use this cleaner over and over and over again on every single carburetor. And when I drain it back in the bottle, I use a coffee filter. That's all I do. But now, I want to pour my cleaner in the Tupperware bowl. And you need enough in there to cover all the surfaces. As you can see, everything is covered nice. Now once you get it in there, you need to shake it, stir it, everything you can, because you'll have air bubbles trapped in there. And you want to get them air bubbles out of that carburetor so that the fluid is making contact on everything. All right. We get all our air bubbles out. And there it is. All our air bubbles are out, so now we're soaking. I have had them soak anywhere from an hour or two to a couple of days, depending on how bad they are. But if you leave anything not covered by the fluid, it will change colors. So you want everything submerged. So right now we're just going to put the lid on, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like after it's been soaking for a little while. Alright, so here we are about, I'd say an hour or two into the soak. Can you see how it looks kind of foamy on top? That's all the little air bubbles. If you'd see it up close, if I could get zoomed in better, which I can't right now, but there's like little air bubbles over the whole thing. And they slowly, come off and come up to the top. So, we are about 24 hours later right now, and our soaking is done. Time to yank it out of there. We're just going to drain the fluid back in the bottle and then take it to the sink and give it a rinse. We use the little sprayer thingy, on the sink, and just start hosing away. Alrighty, we'll be back in a sec. Alright, so here's all our bits and pieces, all nice and clean. I'm just going to clean them all out right here in front of us. And as you can see, we're all cleaned up. We're just covered in water right now. Now at this point, I'm going to take this carb body, and I'm still going to use some carb cleaner on it, but not much. As you can see, it's pretty clean. All I'm doing is I'm going to spray down in through some of these holes, like through this. I want to spray a little bit of fluid through there. Just get some carb cleaner sprayed through there just to make sure all the passages are good and clear. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to hold this to the side. You're not going to be able to see me do it. All right, there we are. I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. Now the next thing I'm going to do is kind of push all these bits and pieces out of the way. And I want to get to a dry piece of paper. I don't want that water inside my carburetor. So I'm just going to slide this up a little bit. Pull the camera down to a clean spot. That's better. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure these parts have a little bit of lube on them. Part of the reason is it's already starting to form. It will form like a light layer of corrosion on them as it dries. It comes from the cleaner, but it does happen. And the best way to prevent it is just a little bit of oil. This is just 2-stroke oil that I'm using. I'm just going to pour some on the paper. Then I'm going to use a toothbrush and just smear a little oil on. I just like to make sure my parts are good and lubed up. You know? There's something about that cleaner that it causes them to corrode a little bit. Now, some people, it's a little strong, you know what I mean? Now, some folks may not like that, but the reason I like it is it'll actually remove the glazing. Have you ever seen how old fuel will glaze onto parts over time? It'll actually get in there and remove that. So that's one of the reasons I like to use that cleaner. It even removes that glazing. Now I'm just going to hit the carb body with a little oil. I'm going to do everything, the outside, inside, all of it. And I just use a toothbrush and 2-stroke oil. She doesn't look clean after I'm done, but you know, that's the way I like it. You see how she looks now? At this point, you could actually just let it soak for a little bit and then rinse it with water, because you know how water is with oil. It wouldn't remove all the oil, but you could do that if you wanted to. So there's all our bits and pieces with a little bit of oil on them. So at this point, I'm just going to take a rag and wipe off some of the excess oil on this carb body. All right, at this point, I'm going to give myself a nice clean surface to work with. No oil, no debris, no nothing. That's better. Okay, now it's time to put our new kit, which I got right here. We're going to put our new kit in the carburetor. Alrighty. Just pour all these little bits and pieces out here. There's some tiny pieces too. You got to be careful. Alrighty, so there's all our bits and pieces. I got them all laid out. Now we're going to work at getting this thing assembled. And I'm going to start on this side here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to install this screen right here down in this hole. This is part of the fuel inlet system, and we need to make sure we get a screen in there. That way no debris can get through the carburetor. This can be a challenge, especially if you're like me with really big fingers. You just got to get that screen seated on there, and it just literally just pushes down in. Take your time. You might have to do it a few times till you get it just right. And there it is. One screen is installed. Now the next thing we got to do is we're going to install this diaphragm and this gasket. Now it's easy to remember that this is the opposing piece to this. All right. The surface that's smooth will take the diaphragm. The surface here that's rough will take the gasket. It's as simple as that. You put the gasket on, and you can see how everything lines up here. If I turn it in any direction here, it won't work. Even if I flip it over, you'll see how it just doesn't quite line up. See how the holes down here don't quite line up? You'll only get it correct one way. And everything will just line up perfectly. All the little holes, you see? And then you figure it out for your gasket. Everything will line up just perfect. See? And then the top piece, give it a little jiggle, make sure it's all lined up well. And then from here, it's just a matter of putting in 4 screws. If you forget which screws go where, the screws that are rounded over go in the part that's flat and chrome. These bigger screws, as you see, they're the ones that go in here. Now whenever I tighten the screws, I just run them in until they touch, and then I go opposite corners. Basically until they touch. Opposite corners. And then I start snugging them down a little bit at a time. Just working my way around until I'm satisfied with how tight every screw is. You don't need to torque them until, you know, some crazy amount, but you do want them to be good and snug. Alrighty, so there we go. So have you noticed that I'm not very good with all the technical terms? If I have a chance to sit and think about it, I remember. But for some reason, I'm not very good with all the technical terms. Now, I just realized something. This rebuild kit is missing the needle jet. That's okay because I have extras. Alright, so now we're on to the other side. And we want to install our Welch plugs. Now this down here is where your check valve is. The carb kit does not come with replacement check valve parts. The only reason I pulled this Welch plug off is to clean it in here. And I usually don't even do that. I just did it to show you how. But usually I don't even remove the Welch plugs. But if you did, let me show you how we put them back in. It's really simple. So here's your Welch plug for this little hole. You just put it over the hole, and you'll see it slides right down in place. Now, you take something, this is what I like to use. This is like a nut driver for a drill, but I find this end here works perfectly. Just stick it right square on top of that Welch plug and give it a tap. And that's it. That Welch plug will not come out of there. Alright, so now time to install the other Welch plug. We got to set it down in its spot. Stick our tool on top, give it a couple of taps. And that should be it. That's all there is to reinstalling the Welch plugs. Now, for metering lever, the needle, and the metering lever and all that. So here's our needle. This is what turns the flow on and off. Goes right down in that hole. And don't you love how I don't know all the correct terms? I'm just a guy like you. Does this on the side or as a hobby. So I can point at it and say that thing right. Now where's my spring? So we got the needle in there. Now we're going to stick a spring right in this hole. See how it fit in there? Well, this is our metering lever. We got to stick this pin up through the hole. And there's a little dimple here. This little dimple has to sit right there on the spring. And the fork right here, this fork goes over, there's a spot here on the needle. Okay? This is the hard part to get lined up. This is probably the most difficult part of the whole job. So now let's get this into there. Got the spring it lined up. Yep. So now as I'm holding this, I need to take the screw, stick it in its spot, and tighten it up. And there it is. Now, we need to set the height of this metering lever. Alrighty. You will find that some of them are supposed to be level with this floor, and some of them are supposed to be level with this. And then some carburetors actually have a tool that you sit here and set them. This particular one, I believe, is to be level with the floor. So we're going to take this, we're just going to tweak it a little bit. Just bend it. That's all we're going to do. Give it a little bend. You got a little too far there. And now I'm level with the floor. And that should have it operating correctly. Okay, you see how it's level with the floor right there? So what happens, you see this diaphragm right here? This little pin hooks into this groove. And what happens is every time the cylinder moves up and down, the piston moves up and down, I should say, it creates a pressure, which causes this thing to move up and down, turning your flow on and off to the engine. If this is too low or too high, you'll get all sorts of trouble. So now we want to install this diaphragm. And now our screws. Get your screws decently snug, but don't over torque them. As you see, I'm just using a little screwdriver. Now we can test this diaphragm. You see this hole? We can test by pushing down, and it should activate that metering lever, and we should be able to feel it. Yep. Alrighty. We only got one more thing to do. We got to get our jets installed. So we got two jets. We got a high speed and a low speed. Okay, you remember this one with a step in it is our low speed. Remember that? So we're going to stick it in the side with the L. We're going to tighten it all the way down. I'm just going to do it finger tight though until it stops. That's it. Same thing with the high side. Tighten it down, finger tight, if you can. If you can't, use your screwdriver. Tighten it down until it stops, but don't tighten it, just until it stops. See? Now for the initial settings to get yourself started and to start testing and tuning and everything, a good starting place is 1 full turn. So all we do is, you see how this slot looks like this? We're going to turn it until this slot turns a half and then 1 full turn. So we're going to go a half and 1 full turn. We're going to take this one, a half and 1 full turn. And that would be a good starting position for any saw. You can go further. Some folks actually take them to 1 1/4 or 1 1/2 turn. I usually start at 1 full turn. It usually gets you pretty close right off the start, unless you have other issues with your saw. If you have an air leak, it would require more, sometimes significantly more. But that's it. We got one rebuilt Tillotson HS26A. Just a little video on how I do it. I'm sure everybody has their own methods. This is just how I do it. Now your carb kit comes with extra pieces. You have these 2 gaskets, usually, that comes with it. Make sure you save these. These gaskets go right here for whenever you reinstall. Okay? So make sure you save them. And you have this optional diaphragm. So I don't use these. Sometimes I have trouble getting them to seal. So that's why I don't use them. Not always, but I've been in a situation where I freshly rebuilt a carburetor, put together with one of these, and it didn't work. I swapped it out to the other one and it worked. I mean, it was just, this thing didn't want to seal up where it needed to. And That's the reason I just don't typically use them. Now these are meant for your ethanol fuels, and I don't run ethanol in my chainsaws, so I don't really worry about it. I do keep them just in case. You never know if you might run into a pinch and you need one, you know, so I do keep them. Well, that'll be it for today. I hope I didn't bore you to death with some carburetor rebuilding, but I saw an opportunity to show you how I do it, and I thought you might enjoy it. Alrighty, till the next one. Later.